Today's video is brought to you by our good friends over at Nationwide Industries, the Fence Pros' #1 choice. And they are this Fence Pros' #1 choice for a couple reasons. One, we love using their Keystone Traverse latches. They're easy to install. You simply bolt them onto the post. No drilling for rods or cutting the rods required. It's a pretty straightforward installation process. We also love using their full line of galvanized hardware. It shows up quickly and reliably. All right, guys, today's video is titled How to Build a Wood Fence Straight DIY from the Fast Flow 1 YouTube channel. If you'd like to watch this video without my commentary, we'll link the video in the description below. Now, we're cutting into this video roughly about halfway, so he talks a little bit about how he calculates his reveal above and below, how he sets his post, but that's not really the star of this video. That's not really what I want to show you guys. Just know that in this video, he's using an 8-inch reveal. It depends on maybe what part of the country you're in. The standard seems to be about 6 inches. The ASTM standard is 6-inch reveal. So when he references 8 inches, when he's talking about this tool, that's what he's referencing is the reveal that he's using on this particular fence.
This is what I use. This side floats and this channel just sits up on the boards. So if you set your first board at 8, go ahead and get yourself a jig like this, and I've made this at 8. So that represents basically a board right here.
It's a nice jig. It's a great homemade jig. It's obviously made out of wood. He made it himself. This is a great tool. I can't tell you how many professional companies in our area still don't use jigs. They use either string lines or maybe they do it by eye. And you can really tell the fences that are installed with a jig because they have a nice smooth top line. It doesn't necessarily vary too much. It floats over humps and valleys because, again, so this tool looks like it's roughly the width of a panel. It's about 8 feet. But as he's nailing these pickets, he's moving it along ahead of those pickets, and he's really taking a lot of the extremes out and turning them into just rolling hills or sweeping valleys.
Now, if you're in the middle of a bay, you might have a little dip. Watch where you put your 2x4s, but if you're on the end on your clips, you're going to be accurate.
Now, one thing to also talk about is for this to work right, you first have to get that top 2x4 flowing well. Now, these 2x4s are inset. He went through in the first half of the video, he talked about his measurements. He's 4 inches down to the post, 4 inches below that on his 2x4s. Now, he's also on what looks like nice level ground. You'd want to step back and make sure before you start putting pickets on, make sure that top line of the 2x4 looks nice. But as long as that top line of the 2x4 looks nice, the pickets are going to follow it exactly because of this jig. Now, also talk about the jig being wood. You'd want to make sure it stays straight over time. They obviously have a tendency to warp and twist. The upgrade to this, what we did is found a few of our jigs that worked well, that we were tired of rebuilding, took them to a fabrication shop and had aluminum versions made for us that have lasted 8, 9, 10 years. And then when those do wear out, now the welding shop has a set of plans for them. They can make us 2 or 3 at a time. Aluminum makes it nice because they're not as heavy to handle as steel.
That jig slides. So as you go along, you can slide this. And it always has your 8 inches off of this right here. So if your rails are really clean, your fence is going to turn out really clean. As you advance along and put your boards on, you'll end up sliding this jig down, and when you get to a post, obviously you just lift it up and put it across. Now, this is what the frame looks like. And that's what your job is going to look like if you use this method. This is the method I use every time. You can have a great looking fence, and it's going to be really easy to do because of your sliding jig. You won't have to keep setting anything up over the posts and doing a bunch of crazy stuff. Just keep sliding that jig along and pocket your boards in here. So if you want to take a look at this piece is just channeled in the center of the board. And this piece is just keyed in so it doesn't flop around. And I just picked a really nice straight 2x4 for the guide. Now you can get a 10-footer if you want and span the entire bay, which is a great idea. This 8 is working pretty good for now. When you get done, you'll be able to look at your frame if you're going to match a gate, and your frame rail, if you want to build your frame rails now, end up roughly 55, 56 inches. So you have a really nice gate frame and hinging and mounting points when you put your gate on to match all your rails. All right, that's the best tips I can give you for 3-rail fence. Measurements off of the clips and off of the tops of the posts. And you'll know just for the future, if you want to use these measurements, you're roughly at 4, 30, and 56. 4, 30, and 56. Set your post at 68 inches and put your boards 8 inches above the top runner, and you'll have a product that looks like this when you're done.
Guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want your top line of your pickets to turn out really nicely, it's always a good idea to use a jig similar to this one. Easy to make. It looks like he made the majority of it out of just job site pieces left over with a longer, obviously a new 8-foot 2x4 or newer 8-foot 2x4. So you can make one fairly inexpensively is the point, and your top lines could look really nice and straight. For now, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors, and I'll see you next time.